Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I am very, very excited to welcome this week's guest to the podcast. I've known her for a few years, and the relationship started on social media. And I think it was from Bomb Bomb, as she's been an early adopter of video in her real estate business. So it was one of those lists that came out that said, the top video people to follow. And I followed her. But in addition to her video skills, she's also a badass keynote speaker and a trainer on all things video and social media. When you think of her, you have to think Pink. Join me in welcoming Sue Penky Benson to the podcast. What's going on?
Hello, my dear friend Katie. How are you?
I am so well. I'm excited to dig in because you truly have been someone that's been doing video for a very long time, and also someone that's been doing it in a market where I feel like it's not adopted by a lot of agents. So that's something that I feel like we'll dig into today. But for those that don't know you, who are you, and how did you get into real estate?
Okay. So, the BC life before children, I was a broadcast journalist and I was doing that for many years. And then I had children and I decided to stay home and be with them. And then, of course, being what we are, we can't sit still long enough. I was like, okay, I got to do something. And so I started off as an assistant in a real estate office for a friend of mine. And then, of course, oh, you should get your license kind of conversation happens. And I was in a completely different market 15 years ago when I got started. I was in a small town just outside of Tampa, very rural. The price of a home back then was like 150,000 on a good day. And we were in the recession. So we were selling $30,000 homes, if you can believe it. And it was intense. It was definitely a very hard market. And I actually very early on I probably was one of their very first go around speaking events type things. And I was in this room. I was one of like two agents from my brokerage. And this is why I always say, go to a class. You never know what you're going to learn. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
And I went into this class and who's the speaker, but the very fabulous Katie Lance. And she's up there talking about at the time, Facebook and Twitter, because that was it. There was no Instagram, LinkedIn, nothing,
Yeah.
right? YouTube was there, but it was like, just kind of like, well, we don't really know what is going on with YouTube. And then the other person in the room was Chris Smith. He was up there speaking at that time. And they were both really talking about the power of video. And this is over 10 years ago. This is like 12 years ago. And now we look at everybody and are like, why aren't you doing video? Why aren't you doing video?
Yeah.
And I'm like, we've been doing video for years. So I started doing video back then in this small town. I had all the static, all the naysayers, mainly my peers. Who does she think she is? Why she's making it about herself. She's not talking about the house, blah, blah, blah. All of that lovely stuff that we love to tear each other down over, right? Anybody doing something new. So don't judge people doing something new just because you don't want to do it. And at that point, that was, like I said, about 12 years ago, I was doing all kinds of house tours. And from there, it just kind of manifests. I mean, we had a big change in life. We lost our son, Sawyer, and we had to relocate. So we didn't have to, but we chose to make that decision. And so we went from a place that had like 400 agents to a place that had a gazillion agents. Price point went way up. And it was only 3 hours south.
Yeah.
And that was Naples, Florida. And so Penky Knows Naples was created at that time frame. And it was about live video had come out. And I was like, this is so much easier than editing a video. Like to me, when people are like, I don't want to do live video because I might mess up. I'm like, that's the glory of doing live
And you
video.
don't have to edit it. And
You don't have to
listen to
edit
yourself
it.
say 14 times.
Yeah, you can say, oops, I said their name wrong. I'm sorry. Like, So that was the glory to me, was doing the live videos. And I remember like our first, didn't we do a live video on Naples Pier?
I think we did.
We did.
Well, and so one thing that I love about your social and the video and the things that you do, and I think it all stems from your username, right? Is the Penky Knows Naples. And I would say it's probably from your past career, right? The news and reporting and being the source, right? you focus so much on education is where I'm going with all of this. You focus so much on education, right? Why is that important to you? And how do you think that translates to clients?
I think education is so many times agents make this mistake. They make their social media, they make their presence about them. Oh, look at all the awards I've won. Look at, how I'm top tier, how many years I've been in the business. Look at me, look at me. And I get that because it's hard with social media to understand what self-promotion is, because we do have to self-promote. But you can self promote by sharing your experience and your education in a way that is relatable to your audience. And that is where you're going to find growth. And that's where you're going to find the dedicated, like, love, loyalty, trust. All of that is going to come from you showcasing your knowledge through your stories or through some sort of example situation. That's how it's really going to work in your favor. So just saying, hey, here are the 5 things you need to know if, like, we have hurricanes coming. So here are the 5 things you need to know if a hurricane's a coming.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just going over the same things, like get bottled water, get batteries, get those same things, it's not going to resonate. It's just becoming visual noise. But if I tell you the story of, like, hey, here's something that most people don't do when they're getting ready for a hurricane.
Yeah.
They don't go in and videotape their entire home from top to bottom, because you don't know what the hurricane's going to look like afterwards. So here you have a visual example to show your insurance company with a date stamp that says, hey, this is what it looked like before the storm, and this is what it looks like after. That video can help someone.
For sure. I mean, and that should be like part of your prepping your house, right? But that's something
Exactly.
that, is super helpful. And since you've like lived through it, right, you're able to
Mhm.
provide these examples and this real life stuff. And I think those are the things that, like, the homeowner down the street from you that hears that, may or may not need to sell today, but when they need to, they're probably going to remember, the helpful tips that you've been giving, that are just again a little bit deeper, right, than the average agent.
Right, right. And I think sometimes the agents disconnect because they're like, how are they going to remember me from that? Like, how are they going to? Well, let me just ask you, how much education and experience are they getting off that bunch best? Wait, let me try that one more time. How much education are they getting from you off of a bus bench ad or being on the side of a bus? Like, they're getting nothing from you but your giant face rolling down the street. I would rather them say, hey, I recognize you. You helped me remember to do this before the hurricane, and I really appreciated that. That makes more, even if it's just something as simple as where are the best gluten-free restaurants in Naples. That helps
Yeah.
people. That
Yeah.
helps people. And it shows that you're out in the community and you're supporting other local businesses.
I have to say though, hasn't your face been on the side of a bus before?
It was actually on the side of a slider. It was.
My
It
mistake.
was.
My
Now
mistake.
now here's the thing. There is power in that because there is branding, right? Like, we can talk about branding,
Yeah.
but I got 0 business from being on the side of a slider, whereas I've gotten a zillion businesses from being on social media and doing videos.
I just had to give you a hard time because I was like, I'm
That's
pretty sure I
okay.
remember seeing a video of her on a side of something. So, all jokes, all jokes though. No, I mean, I think that that's so important, right? And thinking of the ways in which you can serve your community, right, before you're looking for the opportunity and before you're looking for the sale is what's going to give you that long lasting, name in your community, and then as well the brand recognition, right?
Mhm.
I also see you in your pink shirt, and behind you, if someone's watching this, there's, the pink mat on the pictures behind her as well. So I mean, I think that's huge for you as well, right? The pink
Mhm.
brand and associating something, right? Whatever that may be as your brand.
It
Um,
is, yeah.
was
I
that
think I think with branding, because that's what a lot of people recognize with me is like, "Oh, she's done a really great job of branding herself." And I'm very proud of that, but it's 15 years of being pink. It doesn't have to do with my hair color, it doesn't have to do with the car that I drive, it has to do with me showing up in pink consistently along a long period of time, right down to the text that I put in an Instagram story. Is it pink? So when people say to me, how much should I be branding about me and my dogs? Well, how much do you want people to know that you got dogs? I mean, you've got to be having them in every video, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I mean, and I think it's the consistency of whatever you do, right? But especially brand is so important.
Mhm.
All right, so let's give a little advice as far as social media goes, and let's dig a little bit more into your social. I see pillars when I look at people's social media, right? Of like, oh, here's like their like, for you, right? Like your educational Instagram. Here's like speaker stuff. Here's facts about Naples, and then here's listings. And what I kind of want to dig into is listings because I feel like a lot of agents miss the mark, right? On
Mhm.
promoting their listings. It's just like, oh, hey, here's 5 images of a house. Call me if you want to see it, right? They don't include anything else. And when I see yours, I see, you have a story where you're teasing the property. You have another story where you're doing picture day. You have a short video. You have a this. You have a that, right? Like there's a lot more to it. Um, do you have a specific like base listing launch for every listing, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I actually, and it's funny because I think you're like me, Katie. Like when people ask you, you have to stop and go, okay, what is it that I do? Oh yeah, there is a system that I have that's in place, and I have to start writing it down. So I'm actually going to be teaching a class on how to launch your listing with Instagram. So stay tuned for that. I've got
Nice,
everything
nice.
it's coming up in October. But yes, there is madness that goes into the marketing, right? And breaking it down, it's a whole process. And so much of it is subliminal that sometimes I don't think people really realize. So I appreciate that you notice that you're like, oh, I see what she's doing there. I see what she's doing there. But it's like when you go into a grocery store, all of the food is strategically placed throughout the grocery store, right? We know that certain potato chips are certain colors and where they are and the music that they play. And that's how marketing works, is it is much more than just throwing something up there to see how it does. You can do that at first, but you have to grow from that. So no, don't just throw your just listed, just sold. That just sucks. Like it's not going to work. Okay. Like that's my little tagline. I'm sorry. Like just listed, just sold, just nobody cares. Like that, nobody is sitting around waiting for it. Okay. So what can you do to grab them by the eyeballs and get their attention? And how can you educate them? So, taking those 5 photos from, say, a new listing, and really saying, okay, what could I put on these photos? What kind of text could I put on these photos that explain to my audience what they're seeing, what kind of
Mhm.
value? You're assuming that they know that that's the kitchen. Sure, it looks like a kitchen. They know it's a kitchen. But do they know that that quartz countertop was $20,000, that the sellers had it specialty made for this particular kitchen, and it lights up in the background? All
Yeah.
of those little things that you think they should know, they don't. They don't know. And it's better to over explain it than just to assume that they know it. And your sellers are going to love that you listened to what they told you about their property, because I
Yeah.
guarantee that they've told you that, oh, this quartz countertop, we went to the Alps and had it chipped out and brought back, whatever the story is. Seriously, Katie, I once sold a property because it had 2 septic tanks. Now, that's not sexy. Okay. That is not sexy.
Far
I
from it.
literally took a parasol umbrella and strolled across these 2 septic tanks and just said, it sold the house. It made a difference when it came down to the buyer deciding between 2 properties. She was like, I went back, I watched your video. The other property didn't have a video for them to watch. And they were like, all of the little things you told me that, hey, when I'm on these real estate websites, it gives me an overview, but it
Yeah.
doesn't dive into details that who I have a voice, can share those things with you. Do it in the listing photos. You don't even have to be in front of the camera. Just use some text to grab their attention and say, hey, did you know this about the property?
Well, and I think, one of the things that we always kind of um think about, or maybe we don't think about, right, is like we have these conversations all day long. So like, upgrades in the properties or things that you don't see. We're like, oh, of course they're gonna read the MLS and see that it has these upgraded things or whatever. So it's like if you can point those out more than once, I think that that's beneficial, right, for a buyer that's looking at a property. Um So, okay. So if you're having still images, you always add additional text or you add additional context, right? For a
Yeah,
buyer as to why you're sharing this, what's special about it, things like that. Um, you do a video tour on every single property? Is
I
that
do. I do. Or Josh does, my partner, my husband. He now does a lot of the video tours as well. I had to bring him in. You know how it is, Katie, got to bring him in, the other half.
and then one of the things that I feel like I've seen you do, so I'm not sure if this is something you still do or, whatever, but like you have these video tours, then are you sending those out to your database? Are you sending them out to anyone or just if
Oh,
people ask for them, or what does that look like?
yeah, so there's a couple different ways to go about doing that. So you do a full house tour video, okay, with the intention that this is going to be, it could be, I try to make them unbranded. You can always easily make them branded by just doing, what we call a stand up, which is you at the beginning saying, "Hi, it's Sue Pinky Benson with blah, 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 and this is my listing." And then you can cut that out and then it can be unbranded. But the power of the unbranded tour is that it can go on, depending on your MLS, it can go on your MLS system unbranded, right? So the people that are going in to watch that home tour have full intention of wanting to watch a full 10 minutes of that video. It is not going to do well on your Facebook or your Instagram account. You want to have short teasing videos that get them to then say, "Hey, if you want the full walkthrough, just message me and I'll send you the full walkthrough." But when I do that home tour, and I have that full walkthrough video. And I mean, I go from the outside to the inside to the backyard. I pause. I say, "Okay, sound check. Let's see what it hear. What do you hear in the backyard?" Because people want to know that, right? They
Yeah.
want to know what it sounds like. Then I take that video and I send it out to my database. So I have Boomtown. Boomtown's my database and my website and all that good stuff. They're amazing. And what I do is I say, "Okay, I'm going to send this out." Now I might send it out as a tease and say, "Are you looking for, what can you get for under 500,000 that's 5 miles from the beach in Naples?"
Yeah.
You really do have to hone in on those subject lines. Little tip, exactly what to say. That book, you've read it, right? A
Yep.
couple
Yep.
times over. They're great subject lines. So think it's up there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got mine over here. Like it's a great subject line to hone in to get them to open it. So
Yeah.
just putting just listed, nobody cares. Get in there and tell them 5 minutes to the beach, under 500,000. And then you say to them, "If you want the full walkthrough video, email me back." And that really helps to get that engagement to come back because now you're opening up the conversation. So I do it that way a lot of times. But there's lots of ways to use that full video. You can link it in your bio on Instagram. You can tell people to direct message you for it. You can put it in your stories. It's amazing what people will ask for when you tell them that they can have it. You can be like, "Oh, yeah." And then, "Oh, okay, I'll take it. It's free. Why not?"
I like it. And all of that, is just putting more eyes on the property, right? And that's
Yes.
obviously the main goal. Okay. So you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you said, when you first started video, especially in a small town, people, are
Mhm.
like, what's she doing? That's crazy. She's ridiculous. That's, silly and many other adjectives that they probably use to describe it. Fast forward to today, we're in 2023. At this point now, it's like if you're still not doing video, like you've heard it 1,000 times, right? Do video, do video, do video. What advice would you give to someone that still has not embraced the power of video?
And, I'm in an area that really has not embraced the power of video, or they believe that it has to be a professionally shot video, that they have to have a videographer to go around with them to all these places. And that's not the truth. That's not the truth. What you have to understand is we are in 2023. And it used to be that the consumer did not know about video, but the consumer now knows about video. And even if they don't shoot video, their kid or their grandkid is shooting video. So therefore, it must be easy enough if their 15-year-old can do it. Your excuse of, "Well, I didn't grow up with it, I don't know how to do it." There's enough tutorials out there, and the consumer now believes that you should be doing it for them, whether it's a buyer or a seller. So that excuse, you got to take it out. The other part of it is you need to have a self talk, a self check. And you have to say to yourself, and I'm real into brain health and mental health, why am I not doing this? Seriously, like write it out, put it down on your note part. I'm not
Yeah.
doing video because, and if it's, I don't have enough time. Well, why don't I have enough time? You're making excuses. You need to journal it out until you look at it and you go, this is so stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's straight out, like, cause that's what
Yeah.
I do. Like, oh, I didn't do, why didn't I do this? And then when you face it, like if it's literally because there is one person stopping you, that there's one person that, oh, well, she already dominates the area in video. Okay, well, is she paying your bills? Does she, get everybody from no, she doesn't. She doesn't get all the business. So there's plenty of business to go around. Don't be intimidated by that one person. And just as a side note, there's always the one person that's closest to you that gets in your ear. All right. It's the person that we talk a lot about the haters online and the emoji people over there on TikTok with their, and that kind of stuff. Their keyboard, what do they call them?
Warriors.
Cowboy keyboard people, right? Like they're over there like causing trouble. I'm talking about the person that's closest to you. And sometimes they whisper in your ear and they say things like, well, I don't know. You sounded kind of funny. You weren't doing the right thing, or I don't know. What will people think? I just want you to understand that that's about them too. All right. They're worried. Like when I have pink hair, I can tell you that sometimes my kids are embarrassed because they're like, I don't look like the everyday mom when I have pink hair. And I get that. But it's more about them having to feel like they have to defend me, right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody comes to them and says, "Oh my gosh, your mom has pink hair." Now they have to go on the defense to defend me and they don't know how. So these people that are closest to you, sometimes they're holding you back because they don't know how to handle the situation. And that's on them, my friend. That's
Yeah.
on them. You got to ante up and get yourself in front of the camera in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and let's be honest here, as you're a mother of teenagers, they were going to be embarrassed by you either way, whether you had pink hair or no pink hair, whether you're doing video or no video. So you might as well have the pink hair and do the video.
Hey, I got rid of the pink hair, and now the son's like, "Oh, I can't be seen in the pink car," like you won't even drive the pink car. I'm like, okay, it's
Yeah,
pretty fast.
it gets good gas mileage, man. I mean, I don't.
It's pretty fast. It's a VW, it's got a good engine in it.
Yeah, but they were going to be embarrassed either way. So go shoot the video. No, I think that the self talk is huge. I think trying to shut out the voices, right, or the naysayers,
The
whether it's
naysayers.
people or don't know, especially the ones that that don't pay your bills, right? The
Yep.
people in your market or the people that you're not close with, right? That say things. It's normally because they aren't doing it, right? So it's they want to not see you succeed.
Well, and it's interesting because having been down the road of, having the people beside me cheerleading, like, "Oh, you can do it. You can go after your dreams." And this is anybody. You can do it. You can do it. And they're there standing beside you, cheering you on. But then when you finally make it and you get to the other side, they're like, "Oh, look at you, boss lady. Whoa," and now suddenly it's shifted. And what's really shifted is what you have to understand is that they were there, they wanted to help you get to your dream, but they weren't chasing their own dream. They didn't accomplish their own
Yeah.
dream. So when they see you make it, then it becomes like a whole different thing for them in their head. And you have to remember that's about them. It's not about you. And you have to do you. Sorry, this is TED Talk with Penky. I don't know if we got that out there.
I like it. I'm trying to think of a creative, TED Talk, Pinky Talk. I don't know. We'll workshop that. I'm sure there's some alliteration or something, or maybe you already have something that you call it. But anyways, all right. So you mentioned earlier, Mr. Benson.
Oh, yes, Mr. Benson. Yes.
And so I know that he also had a career before real estate, right?
Mhm.
What advice would you give to someone if they are working with their spouse in real estate?
You have to know what the strengths are and what are the weaknesses of both of you. And you have to be, again, self aware. You got to take the emotion as much as you can out of the equation. Like I can tell you all day long, Josh is the money man. He's got the numbers. He knows that stuff. I'm the creative. Like I am the one over there. Like he will tell you every day. He's like, it's at 9 o'clock. You've come up with 20 ideas before 9 a.m. Like
Yeah.
that's me. And you have to know how that works in your business model. And you have to be, like, okay, there's going to be one that leads more than the other, and you have to appreciate that from one. Like Josh is perfectly okay with me being the voice. Like he likes to stand back, but that man is smart. He is so smart and people really like him. And just FYI, if he wants to play golf with you, he's really good. He doesn't talk about it. He's very humble. So I just
So don't
wanted to.
take the bet. You can take the game, but don't take
Yeah.
the bet, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
he's really good.
That's funny. Well, he better be. I mean, he lives in Southwest Florida, that's
He
like,
grew up here. He grew up
yeah.
in Naples, man. He knows the game, and his family's all golfers, so he's
Yeah,
got it down.
that's funny. Um, no, I think that's huge though, right? In understanding kind of what the roles are going to be. And that changes sometimes over time. And that's something that
Oh,
we've realized in our business, right? Is that where things started, or where things were a year ago or 2 years ago aren't where they are today. And so then our roles sometimes change in the business, and just kind of reevaluating that regularly has been a good exercise, right? Because
yeah.
where we were, last year isn't where we are today.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I think that we have all of these, like, I'm sure you have team meetings and you do all these things maybe quarterly or the end of the year, you get together. Josh and I, it's just Josh and we schedule every single year at the end of the year, we get together to go over our, quarters for the next year. How did we do
yeah,
this year? We just do that as the two of us, as husband and wife, and we go away. We don't do it in our space
nice.
here. We go out, and that way it gives us something to do. Like okay, so we're going to spend the day in the hotel and we're going to talk about what we need to talk about. We watch, like, the Jared James and the Tom Ferries and all of those things. What do they call that? The planning for the new year. What do they usually? It's like, I forget
Business
what.
plan. I mean, business planning, but like,
Yeah, it's like business planning for the
yeah,
next
yeah,
year or
yeah, yeah,
whatever. We watch all of those, get ourselves all, like, last year we went to Key West, so we listened to them on the way to Key West. It seems dorky.
yeah,
We should be listening to Jimmy Buffett, but it gets your mindset right, right? And then we get there and we're like, okay, so what is our Q1? What is our Q2? What are we going to be
yeah.
looking to do? What do we anticipate is going to change? And how are we going to adjust to that? And then we go out and have a great dinner in Key West and we have some fun. And, I mean, so doing that, I think, gets you off on the right foot for the next year.
That's huge. And I mean, I think that you should be business planning, but saying, okay, hey, we're going to take these days and go away and do this, and evaluate our numbers, evaluate what we're going to do, because you're running it like a business. You know what I mean? A
Yeah,
lot of people, especially solo agents or husband and wives, and even a lot of teams, but especially when it's like just the two of you, it's easy to get caught up and be like, oh yeah, it's fine, we're doing all right, it's good, we have enough money, and we're good, right? But sitting down and
right.
saying, okay, well, what does this look like? What does the next quarter look like? What does the next year look like? Is a really good exercise. I
Yeah,
like
for
it.
sure. And like I said, just getting yourself out of your normal
Yeah.
everyday
Yeah, yeah.
and taking yourself somewhere else, it's well worth the investment into both your relationship and your business.
Well, and if can go down to Key West and enjoy some key lime pie and, the water, that's not too shabby.
Not too shabby. No, we did one on Gasparilla Island too, and that was amazing.
Yeah, because you have all these great places to go to in Florida. I'm like, have you been to the beaches in Texas? I'm jealous over here. I'm jealous. All right. Um, since the name of the podcast is the Real Advice Podcast, I'm going to ask for your advice in one other situation. You started in real estate, right? You said in the downturn, right? And
Mhm.
back, was that '08, I guess, back
Yeah, somewhere around there.
early
Yeah.
mid 2000-ish
Yep.
time frame, right? The market we're in today is definitely a down market, as compared to the past few years, right? 2020, 2021. You could just throw a house on the market and sell. You didn't have to do anything, right? So now we're working harder and selling less, right? What advice would you give to an agent that either just got into the business or got in the past few years? So this is the first time they've had to kind of focus in on all of their activities and things that they're doing.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I told my mom. when I went to get my license, and it was during the recession. And she looked at me and she said, "Girl, what are you, crazy?" And I looked at her and I said, "Mom, what has gone down will go back up again. And I'd rather learn when it's hard than when it's easy." And that is the truth. I went through short sales and $30,000 houses to selling $3 million houses. And, there's nothing easy about any of this business. It's a
Yeah.
business. And the best thing that you can do is continue to get yourself educated, keep going through your processes, right? Like in Tom Ferry, you have your call times, you have your peers. What do you call them? Your tiers, right? You have all of those different parts of your business that you should be consistently working. Don't stray away. Go harder in on them. Try new things though. For me, like, I am not a, what do they call that? Postcard mailer. Like, that is not my forte. I am social media marketing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I gotta get into doing the mailers. Like, I want to try something that I haven't done before, and I want to see how it works for me. And you have to be willing to invest in yourself, which is your brain, and you have to be willing to invest in your business. And it can be scary, and you've just kind of got to hold your breath sometimes and jump and say, "I'm in this for the long haul, and if I'm going to do this, I have to do it at the best that I possibly can. So I'm going all in, and just really, really hone your skills, find a good mentor, really find somebody that you can go under. If that means joining a team for a little while, don't let your ego get in the way of that. There are some amazing, you have an amazing team, Katie. There are some amazing teams out there, but know what you are wanting in the team. What is it
Yeah.
that you're wanting? Not just what you bring to the table, but what do you want from them? Those are all things that you can do to stay in this business. But going out, networking, invest in going to conferences. You've been to a lot. You just came back from Tom Ferry. I've been to a ton, and those networking opportunities are huge. They are huge. Getting your name out there in different circles really will grow your business.
For sure. So education, skills, investing in yourself, and then networking is huge as well. If you're thinking about doing more or adding in direct mail and things like that, you could do some really cool stuff with, like, doing mailing to your community, and where you live, and where you are, because people there already know you, right?
Mhm.
And then pulling it back to, like, QR codes to social media or QR codes to videos and things like that. We've just started kind of playing around with that in our
You
farms.
do remember where I live though, right? I'm not
No,
sure the QR code.
honestly though, Pinky, the COVID menus at restaurants, everyone scans QR codes now.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm more than willing to try it,
Because
you gotta go in and try it.
I'm just literally, like, I mean, you go out to a restaurant and you've got everyone, 7-year-old kids and 7-year-old grandpas scanning QR codes to get the menu on the phones now. So I
Oh,
think there
I'm
could be
in,
something
I'm
there. I don't
in.
know.
I definitely think there is an opportunity, and you just gotta hear it knocking and answer it, right? Like, you gotta go for it.
Yeah.
If there was anything else that I would really, like to say to your audience, and especially as we go into this downturn situation that we're in, and you've heard me talking about the mental health and your brain health, and I really, really firmly believe that there are a lot of burnout agents out there. There's
Mhm.
a lot of people that are scared about how this is going to go. And I get that. But the most important thing you can do for yourself is taking time for yourself and not comparing yourself to Katie Day or whoever it is that is in your market that you're like, oh, look at this person, look at what they're doing. You really need to say, am I doing all that I can do for me? Like, am I a better agent than I was yesterday? Did I learn
Yeah.
something today I didn't know yesterday? And even if your numbers are less than they were last year, that's okay. If you're still paying your bills and you still got your head above water and you're still living and breathing, that's a good day, my friend.
Yeah.
And honor that and take a few minutes every day just to be like, okay, I'm going to be with I hate to get all zenny on you, but do that meditation, my friend.
Yeah.
Take 10 minutes and just say, I need to focus on me and get my mind straight. And yesterday I had to do it 20 minutes. I was like, okay, I got to get myself focused here. I'm
Yeah,
all over the place and I got to bring myself in. And that is what's going to get you through anything, is keeping your mind straight.
for sure. For sure. The meditation and like gratitudes are big for me.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely keep me, focused for
And so,
sure.
how long do you meditate, Katie?
I'll normally do like a 10 or a 15,
Mm-hmm. That's it.
similar to what you said. Like on some days you need a little bit more, but normally 10 or 15 does the trick of like just kind of, especially like, feeling anxious or frustrated or whatever. It's like, all right, let's take a beat and then, come back to whatever it is.
Wait a minute. Katie Day gets anxious? You know, I
It
mean,
also
I
generally
think
has a direct
people need to hear
correlation.
that though, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You know,
Yeah.
people need to hear that, like, it's not perfect. You know, you see social media and it looks perfect, but we're humans just like everybody else. And yeah, we get anxious, we get overwhelmed. We're like, "Oh my gosh, there's not enough time in the day and I've got a little baby I got to take care of, and she needs me." And we're human. And that's where you have to stop and say, okay, we're telling you to do this because 10 minutes out of our day is precious, just like it is out of yours, but
Yeah,
it helps you. It honestly will help you.
for sure. I love that. All right, one final question.
Oh boy.
All right, this is a hard one. If
Oh
it
no.
were your last meal, what would you be eating?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, do you know about me and food? If Josh is listening to this, he's going to be like, oh my gosh, Katie, you have no idea. I am not a foodie. I do not like food. Like, and I like do not even do like, I'm off sugar now. So like I don't even do added sugar. So I guess if I'm down to my last meal, it probably is going to be pizza, cuz I actually love really good pizza.
Like a good
And
wood fire?
yeah, like just like I don't like the crust and the like, because I'm off bread. I don't eat bread anymore. So it's
Yeah.
like when I get pizza, all I'm getting is like maybe the toppings, some pepperoni and cheese. So I think I would go for pizza, but it's probably going to be a potato too, because I love
Well,
baked potatoes, you know.
yeah. I mean, and that's the thing about like a last meal, right? Is like, it can be as odd as you want it to be, So going to a restaurant and getting a pizza and a baked potato would just be,
And what would
completely.
yours be, Katie?
My favorite food is steak and sushi, so it'd be some combination of that.
See, you sound
Would
like
be.
Josh. So,
Yeah.
so when you come to Naples, we'll have to go to Shula's because that's my favorite steakhouse, and they have the best salad there.
I'm down. I'm down.
I even have a little sign they have for me. It says Pinky Benson. So that's the extent of my like foodie experience, is a good salad, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just always make crap salad, so it's like lettuce, and then I'm upset that I'm eating like lettuce with olive oil on it, as opposed to like some robust, vegetables and things like that. So, anyways, if someone doesn't follow you on social media, where is the best place for them to connect and find you?
Instagram, Pinky Knows Naples, PINKYKNOWS. You don't know how many people think nose on your face. And I'm like, and even like captions, when I caption it, it comes up Pinky Nose, like the nose on your face. And I have to like go in and
Edit it.
correct it.
Yeah.
So yes,
First
Pinky
world
Knows Naples.
problems.
Yeah, first world, big problems.
Awesome. Well, Sue, thank you so much for your time. It feels weird calling you that. I'm sorry. Pinky, it was so awesome to catch up with you. Thank you so much for your time. It is very much appreciated. And I will see you soon.
Thank you, Katie. See you later.